Oh, it's time. Oh, it's time once again. Time to go through some movies. What's going on, everyone? Your boy here, Apollo from Down, Down, Up, Up. And we're continuing the discussion when it comes to the Friday the 13th movies. The announcement video should be up by now. I'll be very confused if this is up first. And I already let you guys know. First premiere on the channel, Friday the 13th, 1:30. 13, Friday the 13th, 1:3, ha ha ha. Gonna react to the entire Friday the 13th movie. The first one. Maybe we'll do more if this pops like I'm hoping it will, to some extent. Just taking a break from the usual on the channel. But like I said in the previous video, it's time to talk about the movies. I have them broken up into a few sets here. So we're gonna take our time, and I'm looking forward to just having a little discussion about them. The good and the bad. It's fun to talk about what I've been waiting to talk about for a long time now. A reminder, when I got into this, I heard from the Angry Video Game Nerd doing reviews on these movies back in 2015. That's what motivated me to watch them. I've seen all of them at least once, twice for the most part. Let's see how they hold up today with my standards. Now, I have the first four in one set. Probably the best of the bunch, if I'm being honest. The first part, I don't know how technical we want to go if no one's seen them, so I guess I'll say spoilers. I'm going to go off memory, even though I am going to be watching it on Friday the 13th, and when the premiere comes up. So, the first one, a out of the first lovely little tidbit trivia, is yes, Halloween really started the slasher genre, but Friday the 13th, what they did differently, it put the setting in a camp. Now, here's the thing. You're already freaked out enough being deep in the woods, doing your own thing away from the usual. Throw in a crazed killer, and there's nowhere to go on foot to get help like that. Back then, that's a problem. So the first movie did a lot to establish a new mood of horror. If anything, it didn't need a music genre to really go with it, besides that weird, I don't really know how to describe it, like the that's really the most music that we know from Friday the 13th. But if anything, if you've seen it, it kind of rips off Psycho with the music. You may question me, but if you don't know, watch the movie and you'll know when I'm talking about it. It's weird. I didn't notice that the first time watching it, but then watching it back, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I hear it. It's so weird. But typical group of kids goes in. Many of them ain't leaving. That's really how these movies go. But I know it disappointed a lot of people who were getting into the series. The first movie, Jason is not the killer. It's Mrs. Voorhees. She goes off her hind hinges about her son Jason being drowned in the lake. And finally it comes down to her and the one survivor, Alice, cuts off Mrs. Voorhees' head, and then one of the best moments in the movies, probably one of my favorite jump scares of all time. Jason pops up in the lake and drags her down. Fantastic. That should have been the ending. If you've seen the movie, again, you know what I'm talking about. They do not end with that. And it's really frustrating because it's such a golden moment. That made my heart jump into my throat when I watched that the first time because, yes, I was aware of it, but I wasn't sure when it was coming, and it's done so well. Absolutely terrifying. It's funny, though. I wouldn't call the movie a classic. It's very slow for the most part. If I want to go into minor annoyances, there is one scene in the movie where one of the girls, again, I think it's Alice, goes through the entire process of just making coffee. They show the whole thing. It's so ridiculous to me, but it's in there. It's like they needed more filler, so why not just have her making coffee the whole time? Again, I'll be going through all this when we watch the movie, so I don't want to go too into it. Now, the second movie, not much of pictures for these really, but the second movie is when Jason goes to work. He's not the kid. He's definitely more late teenager looking. He has a sack on his head. That's right, we do not get into Hockey Mask Jason until the third movie. Second movie just feels like the first. Again, new group of people, basic same setting, basic same bland characters. And Jason just goes to work. He takes care of Alice in the first part of the movie. He still has his mother's head. He goes to work on her and then goes back to the camp with plans. He even has his own shack. He's more of like the deranged hermit character in this movie. But it works. It does its job to continue the story. And in the end, he has like a shrine of dead bodies around his mother's head in the shack. Really disturbing looking. One of the girls does actually end him for that movie. I believe it was it a machete to the shoulder, like deep in the shoulder, that took him out in that one? And if there's one thing these movies love doing, I always just put it as hallucinogenic BS. There are so many dream scenes that end these movies. I'm not going to have time to go through every one of them. It's basically just what I love about the movies and what I don't love about the movies. So the second one did a great job in establishing Jason as the killer from now on, even though it took us a while to actually see that it was Jason, so to speak. His face is only shown during a dream sequence, and it's not accurate matching to the next movie, but then again, none of them are. So you work with what you want to work with. This is just my opinion on the lore. The second movie, again, it's slow, but in my opinion, there's a lot more to work with when it comes to kills and bodies than the first movie. So, do I like the second one better than the first? I'd have to say no, just because of the final scene not matching up to how epic the first movie is. Third movie, on the other hand, this is when we get into some good territory. Jason gets the hockey mask, new group of people, not as big, but we finally have at least one character to somewhat relate to in a funny way. I don't remember the character off by name, but he's a prankster, so to speak. He fakes his death at least once in the movie, tries to scare the crap out of some of the girls, and accidentally be the one to give Jason the hockey mask. It's one of the best looking Jasons early on. Beefy. He's coming for you. When he gets that mask on, you know it's gotten real. And the kills in that movie are brutal. I remember there's one idiot doing a handstand. Jason gets the machete right down exactly where you think it goes. Good Lord, there were a few eyes coming out in that movie. It was just brutal. Absolutely brutal. The one bit of continuity that doesn't so much fit is when one of the girls in that movie has some sort of a memory from a while ago where Jason, or at least a Jason lookalike, was chasing her in the woods late at night, and it matches the one in this movie, but not at all the one in part 2. And the first 3 movies match up very well in time, especially 2 to 3, because it's literally the next day. So make whatever you want out of that. They don't do the best job at giving a good continuity to how Jason looks, but it's a slasher movie. You take what you want to take from it, especially to how Jason works. Is he a zombie? Did he rise from the lake only when his mother was decapitated? You work with what you want to work with. Me, I have my own way of putting these movies together, but it's too complex. I'm not even going to explain on camera. But then 3, he gets the axe to the head, and that seems to stop him. Funny enough, 3 was supposed to be the last. Obviously not, but to think if that had been it, when we finally got the great look for Jason and the kills really got top-notch treatment, cheers to Tom Savini and his work in those movies. I'll say that. Part 4, on the other hand, that's when we actually have a little bit of a title to it. Part 4, the final chapter. Another chance to end the series that they did not want to end with in the end. And you might have noticed I didn't at all talk about Part 3 being in 3D. I'm not going to focus on side things that are made to attract, because that was just that time where everything was in 3D. Jaws, 3D. Amityville, 3D. Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D. We're going to skip over that. I just want to talk about what I like and what I really don't like. And when it comes to Part 4, one of the best. One of the absolute best. And that's for a couple of reasons. We introduced the Tommy Jarvis character played by Corey Feldman as a kid. Does a fantastic job. And yes, a new group of people coming to the camp, because why not? We have Crispin Glover being the absolute gem of those idiots. And I don't even need to go into too much detail. If you are going to watch any Friday the 13th movie, watch Part 4. you won't be disappointed. Again, kills are brutal and so well done that they'll pop you every single time. And characters, come on. Again, if you've seen it, you know what I mentioned about Crispin Glover. He's so socially awkward. He loves to over-exaggerate everything in the movie, but that just works so much to his character. And then, of course, there's Jason doing his usual thing, but he's met his match. It ends weird, though, I'll say that, because, yes, Corey Feldman, a.k.a. Tommy Jarvis, is the one to take him out. But then again, that's how they wanted it to end at the time. They wanted Jason dead, and of course there was a huge tease at the end with Corey Feldman that he was going to grow up, aka Tommy Jarvis, to be the next Jason. But here's the thing, they dropped the ball with it just like they did Halloween when it comes to Michael Myers' niece, I'm pretty sure. Because if you've seen Halloween Part 4, and I don't want to go off track too much when it comes to just Friday the 13th, the ending of Halloween Part 4 is one of the best things that franchise ever did, but they dropped the ball so damn hard with it, I can't at all give credit. Whereas with Friday the 13th, yes, they dropped the ball, but they made it a bit more intriguing than Halloween. So fair play on Friday the 13th. Part 4 still holds up well. Part 5, on the other hand, all right, I'll bring out the new set. I have 1 to 4 on one set. This is 5 and 6. So we're talking about Part 5 now, A New Beginning. This one, a lot of people's most hated. If you've seen it, you know. If you haven't, we'll go through it briefly. Part 5 is my favorite. Yeah, I know. If you've seen the movies, you're wondering how the hell am I talking about this one being the favorite. Honestly, I can't take these movies too seriously, and Part 5 was so dumb, but I loved it for it. So we follow Corey Feldman's character, aka Tommy Jarvis. We see that he's basically been living in an institution for so long. It's a different actor now. He's basically a young adult. He gets moved to this group home, and my God, it's like he has met the equivalent of if all the Texas Chainsaw Massacre characters from 1 to 3 decided to just live around in the same area. Tommy Jarvis takes a backseat to all of these nuts, and they're all hysterical in their own stupid ways. Again, I'm not going to go into every little detail. Watch the movie if you're curious, and of course if it's age appropriate. But this movie's so ridiculous, especially because of how the real horror starts. It starts with a young man offering another young man a chocolate bar. The man is cutting wood with an axe and seriously PO'd. He chops the chocolate bar with an axe and then kills the dude with the axe. It comes out of nowhere. It's one of the most ridiculous moments in the movies because straight up we just got a kill that was not done by Jason. It was not done by Jason's mother. But that's really how the chain of events starts, because then all of a sudden we are seeing kills done all over this movie. And characters are being introduced like crazy. You do not have time to get used to anybody. But if you want to just watch a movie where a bunch of idiots get slashed, this is the one. Just going to be straight up about that. However, I'll say one thing. The kills take a major backseat to the past 2 movies. MPAA made them censor so much. It just looks ridiculous for the most part. One good kill I'll give credit to in this movie, though. Tree kill. Guy's getting his head crushed against a tree. Not going to go into detail. You want to see it? Go watch it. Heck of a moment, did not get ruined too much by censors at the time. But the thing is, you don't see who's doing the kills. You can tell, though, it's a large male, but is it Jason? We haven't really established he's alive from Part 4, or has Tommy flipped the lid, and Tommy is taking over now? Well, what's the answer? Let's, I guess, get into it, because finally we get down to the final scene, and okay, Jason busts down the door. He's got a new hockey mask, and he's going back to work slashing people like crazy. But we get through it, and it's not Tommy. He gets slashed by Jason. Jason then falls off the top of a barn on a bunch of spikes, but then it shows that it wasn't Jason the whole time. It was a paramedic, apparently the father of the boy who got attacked by the Axeman. So his son getting killed but even though he never acknowledged his son's existence, set him off. It's so weird, but it works because I understood they were trying to do something new. The copycat killer motive is never bad for these movies that go on this long into the series, although I think they might have had better luck doing this in a later edition. Like if this was part 7, part 8, could have been widely appreciated more. Maybe. But it's such a ridiculous, wacky bunch of nonsense that I enjoyed it the first time. I enjoyed it even more the second time. I like it for my own reasons, and that's why it's my favorite movie. That's really it. It's not as good when it comes to kills. It's terrible when it comes to characters and development, but it's just a bunch of idiots getting what they deserve in the movie. And even though there's no Jason, it works. It works for me. Tommy, again, is teased at the end that he's going to grow up like Jason, but then we get into part 6. Okay, part 6, Jason lives. No copycat nonsense. Problem, though, they had a different actor play Tommy Jarvis, and even though this is the last of the Tommy trilogy, it really didn't help that a different actor played him every single movie. We had Corey Feldman in part 4, and then he's a different actor in the part 5 and part 6. So he goes and digs up Jason just to make sure he's really dead, and he sure looked dead. If you've seen the movie, props to the props department. Again, I'm stealing a lot from James' reviews, but it just sounds so good. I have to include it in my own little tidbit of it. So they accidentally bring Jason back to life. He's going back to business, and that's really the highlights of this movie are just in the first 10 minutes because it's a great graveyard scene. Apparently, some of the people responsible for this movie took some inspiration from older movies, such as Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, which had an amazing graveyard scene. So bringing Jason back was one of the best things in this movie. Getting struck by lightning when some idiot, I guess it was Tommy, stabbed him with a giant metal pole. Gets his mask back, which Tommy apparently had all these years, even though there was no showing of it, I believe, in part 5 at all. And yeah, Jason's back, goes to work. But in the end, it's just Tommy trapping him under the lake. Drowned, whatever you want to call it. I'm pretty sure, though, even at the end of the movie, you can see that Jason's eyes are open and clearly not putting up with this crap. So, yeah. There's really just not much to mention. He goes around doing the usual same business. There's a great caretaker character in it that could have been used by much. Apparently, an original ending had the caretaker in the cemetery being responsible for looking after Jason's grave by Jason's dad. That would have been an interesting direction to take with the series, but they didn't. They did not. Life went on. Now we move into, I guess, yeah, part 6 wasn't much. It's definitely not in my top 5. But we get to part 7, The New Blood. It gets different for a bit. Focuses on a new character, Tina, who has some kind of telekinetic powers, a Jedi power, if you want to take it that way, who apparently killed her dad by complete accident as a kid, down by Crystal Lake, comes back, tries to figure out what's going on with herself with this crooked psychiatrist. But what does she do? She brings Jason back accidentally, who's trapped underwater. He takes care of a bunch of new silly characters that are living in the woods. Again, another group of teens partying and doing their thing. And what we get is essentially Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader. It's just a ridiculous war between Jason and Tina, with Tina using her powers. It gets good for a good bit in the movie where it's just the most ridiculous fighting happening. And credit, Jason's mask breaks in this movie, and this is without a doubt the best face Jason in the whole series. They did such an amazing job with his face, and they were not afraid to show it during this bit of the movie. So, lovely stuff. Now the ending, stupid. Tina's dad comes back from being dead and just pulls Jason down after an amazing scene of things getting blown the heck up and Jason's body taking a punishment. But what happens? He just gets dragged down back to the bottom of the lake. And it's so depressing because when her dad comes back up, it's like, okay, it looks like her dad, but he's not alive. He didn't come back after dragging Jason down. Apparently, the director hated it wanted to give it more of a zombie look, but one of the producers hated it and would not have it. So maybe the zombie look it could have made it better. It could have. Not by much in my opinion, but just some fun facts to know. So, Part 7, not one of the best when it comes to stories. When it comes to action, you get what you pay for. I'll say that for it. But the ending is a cheap joke, and it doesn't do anything for it. But, okay, now we're getting really into the dirty grimes. If I wanted to keep positive, I'd stop it here, but I really want to give every movie just a little bit of attention. We're going to talk about Part 8. That's right, Part 8. One of the biggest disappointments in the whole series, Jason Takes Manhattan. Well, first off, he doesn't. He's in the movie, now I can't even talk properly. He gets to Manhattan over an hour into the movie, because sure, he couldn't just start there and do his thing in New York. That would have been so cool if he had been doing stuff in there the whole movie, but no, he has to go on a boat taking care of business with some of the worst kills in the whole movie. Then he gets to New York. It gets good for just a little bit, and then things happen. There's another character to focus on, a young girl who apparently, when she was super young, encountered boy Jason trying to drown her in the lake. Well, Jason's back to business here, gets himself a new mask, and funny enough, they have enough attention to detail to give it the axe mark from Part 4. I found that weird, but probably the biggest respect to continuity any of these movies have ever shown. And there just really isn't much to go off of. He's on a boat taking care of business, and there's only about 5 or 6 who make it to New York. Jason takes care of most of them until we get to the sewers, and the one good thing I'll give, besides Jason punching someone's head off in a fight, the one good thing I'll give in this movie, Jason is killed in one of the best ways. He's killed by toxic waste. The special effects were meh, but it was nice to see something different. So that's really going to go it for that. And I believe Part 8 was the last one done by Paramount after they sold the rights to New Line Cinema. So Part 8 was the last of the classics, but my God, it definitely needed to go after 8 to something new. And what do we have? Well, Part 9 I do not have a physical copy of, simply because Part 9, you heard my best, Part 9 is my worst. I really don't want to go into too much detail about it, but they tried to give it a new look like they did with Michael Myers in Halloween 6, and it just did not work. Jason gets blown up in just the first few minutes of Part 9, but he apparently now has the possession to take over bodies. And that's really where it goes. It's the characters trying to learn how Jason's doing it, what he expects to accomplish, and if he gets to take over the possession of another Voorhees, and yes, there's more Voorhees, he apparently regenerates to his proper-looking self. The Jason look in this movie is fantastic, but we don't see enough of it. And then all of a sudden, it just ends with Jason being dragged literally to hell. Hence the movie being called Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. But again, not the last one. Of course. But gets dragged to hell. The one thing this movie did, though, if everyone hated it as much as I did, it really left you happy with the ending, because Jason's hockey mask is sitting on the ground. His body has been dragged literally underground to hell. When Freddy Krueger's glove comes up and pulls it down with the laugh and just that mood as the movie properly ends. That's the one thing Part 9 is worth watching for. Watch the last 4 or 5 minutes just to get that moment, and then move on to Freddy versus Jason. Oh, I am so glad they did this. This was funny enough. Frankenstein and the Wolfman was the first sort of monster collage, the lovely mix of two of the biggest. When it comes to slashers, we have Freddy and Jason. It took a long time to make this after Jason Goes to Hell, but it was worth it. I'm not going to go too much into that one because it's not a real Friday the 13th movie, but you just get a lot of nonsense waiting for the good stuff, but when you get it, Freddy vs. Jason, it gets good. I'd recommend watching that just for the sake of it's two of the best slashers going at it, and it's still Robert Englund as Freddy. Delicious. Okay, pretty much we're down to the bottom of the barrel here, and if you're still here hearing me rant, I appreciate it. I'd love to hear your opinions. I just love to get in the spirit when it comes to Friday the 13th, and this is how I'm getting my spirits on. Jason X. What else could they do for Jason Friday the 13th, part 10? Send him to space! He gets frozen somewhere in a military facility. A lot of time passes, and futuristic scientists pick him up and take him to space, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. Again, not worth going into detail, but a fun movie nonetheless if you have very little expectation. And if there's really anything else mentioning, the 2009 movie, Friday the 13th, I've only seen this once, and from what I remember, it's trying to put the first three movies together. And it's not bad, but not really anything new. If you want a more modern look, this is probably the movie for you. But if you want me to ever have a good time, give me the first 7, and I'm going to have a good time. That's how it works for Friday the 13th. If you're still here, thanks for watching. I just needed to get that off my chest. I love Friday the 13th. I was born in a month with a Friday the 13th. And the movies are just some of the best things I can enjoy when it comes to horror and slashers. That's it. That's honestly it. If you guys are still into it enough, my full reaction to the first Friday the 13th movie will be coming up, premiering Friday, which should be hopefully tomorrow at 1:30. So we'll see you guys for that. Have a lovely day. Keep it real. It's coming.